Adams Archive.
Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the Adams Archive. My name is Austin Adams, and thank you so much for listening today. On today's episode, we're going to discuss some pretty wild events. Now, it's been a few weeks since our last episode, and I'd like to formally apologize to you for that. Life gets in the way, some new adventures that I have been pursuing simultaneously, so just trying to juggle it all while we go through some changes here on the Adams Archive as well. So thank you for sticking around. I'm glad you're here today because we're going to discuss some wild shit. And I will even give you the update on everything that I've been working on in the background. And if you follow me on social media, you might be privy to it already. So we'll discuss that, which is pretty cool. But first, we're going to discuss Joe Rogan having a guest on just 1 month ago who has now been found to have had a severed head in his freezer. So we'll discuss that, obviously. The next thing we're going to discuss is going to be the bill that may make TikTok unavailable in the United States as it quickly advances in the House. Now, this isn't a new idea. This is something that's been discussed before. This is bills that were presented by Donald Trump prior to this. This is no new conversation, but we'll discuss why it might be interesting in the conversation today. After that, we're going to have a discussion about some deeper and a little bit darker topics. And as always, the more you stick around, the darker and deeper things generally get. So as we segue from those conversations, we're going to move into a conversation about a few more recent celebrities that are exposing the elites the same way that Jeffrey Epstein did. Now, in a couple of different manners, one calling it out in a way that is seemingly, I would say, positive in the meaning that they are not a part of it, and the other being a part of it. And you may know these names, one being the famous boxer Ryan Garcia, and the other being P. Diddy. Some pretty crazy stuff going on there, which is stuff we'll get into. I'll give you a brief synopsis, which is the fact that Ryan Garcia, famous boxer, young, good-looking dude, 200-something boxing matches, unbelievable boxer, has had a recent tirade on X where he just goes off about Bohemian Grove, saying that he was tied up by guys in black robes and made to watch some horrific events. Again, at Bohemian Grove. So, pretty crazy stuff. We'll look at the tweets, we'll look at the videos that he actually talks about these things, and that will move us into a conversation about P. Diddy. P. Diddy is having a more recent judicial situation where a former producer that he worked with, Lil Rod, which seems to be the all-time worst rapper name ever. It almost seems satirical, but I digress. Lil Rod has filed a lawsuit against P. Diddy, as well as Universal Records and a bunch of other people in association with what seems to be a honeypot trap, similar to what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And they actually named Jeffrey Epstein in the documents, in the court documents of this 73-page document, which I'll actually walk you through. I have it, I highlighted it, I went through it, did my research for you guys. So I will share all of that with you as well in the show notes today, so you can actually take a look at it. All right, then that's it. All right, so that will be our discussion for today. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review. And before I jump into it, let me tell you what I've been up to. So I have recently launched the pre-sale of my new company called Ronin. And Ronin is a Faraday goods company. And you might say, what the hell is a Faraday goods company? And that's a good question because I didn't know what it was up until 4 months ago. 4 months ago, I did a deep dive, and you may have recalled the episode that I did on 5G and EMF radiation. And ever since then, it's just been bothering me. The amount of data that we discussed, the amount of harmful effects of these things, and also simultaneously, while I was doing that, we started to hear more and more about it. Joe Rogan's been talking about EMF radiation. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been talking about Wi-Fi radiation poisoning. 5G's been talked about by people like Andrew Huberman, who's also talked about EMF radiation from your cell phone. So Faraday products are products that protect you from the EMF radiation that's happening all around you all of the time. Very likely on the thing that you're listening to right now is also doing this to you, which has very harmful effects, including cancer causing, blood clots, DNA damage, tons and tons of things like that. And there's only one way to protect yourself, and it's called Faraday products. And Faraday products are a specially lined material that is pretty decently difficult to source. And so you can find apparel, you can find hats to protect your most important asset. There's a lot of different utilizations for these things. But what Ronin will be doing is we'll be offering EMF radiation protection apparel and hats, starting with hats. Okay, so we'll be coming out with 10 foil hats, kind of like tinfoil hats, but a little bit better. And these will be baseball hats and beanies that will protect you from EMF radiation. We'll also be coming out with Faraday backpacks. Now, again, I said there's a couple uses for Faraday products, one being apparel and protecting yourself from Wi-Fi radiation and EMF radiation from your cell phones and 5G. The other being that it completely shields all inbound and outbound communication signals. So one thing that we know about this cell phone that we all have right here is that it's tracking you everywhere that you go. Who's using that information, you might ask? Well, corporations, governments, and even just nefarious types of individuals all around the country and the world. They'll track you, they'll take your data, they'll steal your private photos and videos and leverage them against you. They can steal your credit and debit cards. They can do all sorts of atrocious things unless you have a Faraday product to put that in. So Ronin will be creating backpacks, Faraday backpacks, in which you drop your laptop, your cell phone, your iPad, your wallet, whatever it is, and it completely shields all inbound and outbound signals, making you just basically vanish from all of those tracking technologies that are following you every single place that you go. All right, there's a limited time pre-sale of these products. I do not have them in my possession. I am ordering them in an initial pre-sale order for you guys. And it's only going to be people who follow me on social media and people who listen to the podcast that are available for this pre-sale. Okay, there's limited spots available. I already did the pre-sale launch on Instagram and a few other social medias. So there's a few spots left that I wanted to get out to you guys as well. So I'll include Ronin's pre-sale link in the show notes for you. I've never promoted basically anything on this podcast in I don't know how many episodes. I never ask for you guys to support some outside company, but I will ask you to support my company. And I truly believe in the mission that Ronin has, which is going to be to create harmony between the harmful technology and the pace of innovation and technology today, and actually providing you with a healthy lifestyle surrounding those things that we're not just going to get rid of. Okay, so I do ask you, if you are interested in these things, go order the pre-sale. It'll be the first thing in the show notes. Go check it out. Click that link, join the pre-sale launch, and I would appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. All right, that's what I got for you right now. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it.
The Adams Archive.
All right. The very first topic that we're going to be discussing today is going to be that Joe Rogan had a guest on his podcast just 1 month ago who has now had been found to have a severed head in his freezer, along with a torso in a black or a blue bin that he was toting around, that there's photo evidence of him toting this bin around through a door. So let's go ahead and read this article and let's find out what this is really about. Now, the individual in question here was somebody who is a former former inmate, and was on the podcast with Josh Dubin. And I've actually loved the podcast with Joe Rogan and Josh Dubin, where essentially what he does, Josh Dubin is a advocate and a lawyer who basically brings on people who were wrongful convictions and gets them out of jail, and then starts this conversation about wrongful convictions and how a large percentage of individuals who are in jail right now could very well be innocent. And so his organization does an amazing thing, which they go through all of the different cases that they're sent. They do some deep dives into the information that are there, and then they help get these people out, which is an amazing thing. I love the work that Josh Dubin does. But maybe in this instance, they should have left this guy in jail. Okay, so Sheldon Johnson, a former Joe Rogan show guest, is a 48-year-old youth counselor for the Queen's Defenders who spent 25 years in prison for attempted murder and robbery. And he was introduced on the Joe Rogan Experience in February by his friend Perlmutter Center from Legal Justice Executive Director Josh Dubin. And he was saying that he was a marvelous human being who was wronged by the system. Johnson was also photographed shaking hands with Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. However, less than a year after his release from prison, Johnson was arrested in New York on Thursday after police found a severed head in his apartment freezer and a torso stashed in a bin. Damn. The victim, identified as 44-year-old Colin Small, spent time in the same prison as Johnson and may have had a beef with him, according to the New York Post. Small was reportedly heard by neighbors pleading for his life on Tuesday evening before several gunshots rang out. In security footage following the incident, Johnson could be seen carrying cleaning supplies in a blue bin to the apartment where Small's remains were found before leaving in a blonde wig. Wow, great disguise. Rogan received criticism from viewers when the episode with Johnson aired, with critics accusing Rogan and Dubin of downplaying Johnson's violent criminal history. Very interesting. Now, I'm pretty sure I've listened to this episode. I know I've listened to several episodes with Josh Dubin, and again, really like the work that he's done. I'm not sure if this is the individual that I'm thinking of that I listened to last, but I'll definitely go back and listen to this one because this is a wild situation, right? It's like, even if this guy wasn't guilty, and maybe this is the argument that could be made around this, is that jail, prison time makes you a terrible person. It confines you. It turns you into an animal. All you are is surrounded by people who are violent criminals, who are absolutely and this isn't to detract from the fact that there are wrongful convictions and that the for-profit prison system is the absolute worst thing in the world that causes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of families a year to be in agony for no good reason. I've stated my positions on the justice system before. As somebody who was planning on going into the justice system and becoming a lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, my take on the entirety of this, and the reason I wanted to go be a criminal defense lawyer, is because I don't believe in the justice system in the way that it stands today. I believe there's so many wrongful convictions, and I feel like even the ones that are convicted are generally convicted for profitable corporations and not because it's a true way to help them better themselves and their lives and be a better person in society. I don't think that happens. I think there's a very, very marginal percentage of people that come out of jail as a better person or come out of prison as a better person as when they went in there. I just don't think it happens. There's no system, there's no processes in place that cause that to be the case. There's no reform that's happening. It's a place to essentially imprison people, to throw them in a jail cell and allow them to be a number that corporations can profit off of. And so to me, in this situation, let's go back to the original discussion being had here, which is that in this situation, even if he wasn't guilty here, even if he wasn't an attempted murderer, as he was convicted for prior to him getting out for a wrongful conviction, they very well in prison could have made him this way, just shown by the fact that the person that he went after and murdered was actually somebody that went to jail with him, went to prison with him. And so that to me, it shows that like, it didn't help, did it? Even if he, and let's just say he wasn't the person who committed that initial crime, it made him the type of person that they made him out to be to begin with, even if he wasn't. And he probably was, now that we know he's this type of, he's got this in him. That's some gangster shit. But for sure, for sure. Seems like he did this one. I don't think he's getting out of this one at all. All right. So a pretty wild situation. And I wonder what Joe Rogan's response will be to this, because that's not a good look for Josh Dubin. I wonder what Josh Dubin's response to this is. I wonder if he's come out and had some conversations, because Joe Rogan there's very few guests that Joe Rogan has said or had on consistently. Joe Rogan has Josh Dubin on his podcast at least once a quarter. And he says that he does that because he believes in the cause. He says that he does that because he believes that there is a injustice happening in our justice system. Absolutely is. And I agree with him 100%. This isn't a good look, though. There's probably, I don't know, 100 situations that could have been bad that couldn't have been this bad of a look for them. So, anyways, wild situation. I'm sure there's going to be more information that comes out in this. There was some photos that leaked that showed this. Interesting stuff. So I didn't go and find any clips. I doubt there's going to be anything that's like alludes to this or is even interesting compared to this. But I would say you should still go check out Josh Dubin's situation and his organization that he leads there, because they still do good stuff despite, I don't know, getting a man out of prison who severed another man's head. Not a good look. Anyways, all right. So the next thing that we're going to discuss here is going to be that there is a new bill looking to ban TikTok. And it says the measure gained the support of House Speaker Mike Johnson on Thursday and could soon come up for a full vote in the House. I don't know why I said vote like that. Vote. And now I believe I was running my podcast when this happened a couple years ago, and I'll tell you my position on this. I haven't read really much into this. We'll read it together and we'll kind of have a real reaction for you here, because I don't know the context of this bill or why they're trying to pass it. Personally, I do know that the last time it was because there's like military and espionage happening in there, and situations where they're tracking our military members and leveraging the data against them. And they believe that it's a security issue with our own civilians, that they're gathering all this data and they're infiltrating our youth and putting in all of these themes of like terrible societal constructs that are degrading our society as a whole. I don't disagree with any of those. But I also don't think that TikTok's the only one doing that. And I also think that if our government is going out of their way to pass a bill because they're concerned about the security measures and the spying and the utilization of data, weaponization of data, right? So if our government's concerned about China weaponizing TikTok's data against our citizens and surveilling us, utilizing that technology, what I should be far more concerned about, and what you should be far more concerned about, is the fact that our government uses every social media platform to do the very same thing. They just don't like it when other people do it to us too. It's like, if they're concerned about other governments weaponizing social media against our citizens, it's because they're already doing it. It's because they know what they can do with that information. And we already know that they're connected, right? We already know the information came out about the FBI connections with Facebook and Meta and Instagram surrounding the election. We already know that they essentially had the Twitter files and stuff, after the Twitter files were released, that they were working with all of the three-letter agencies and the government organizations and the White House, and they all had basically a secret email thread where they were telling people a specific post to take down, and I'm sure several of mine were one of them. Absolutely, because the second I posted a video about Hunter Biden and the whole situation, I think I pulled it from InfoWars, and I reposted it on my Instagram, I was vanished, gone, so shadow banned for I think about 7 or 8 months. It really crushed my momentum with the podcast, with the Instagram, with everything. Very disheartening. It hurt my feelings a bit. But I would say about 8 months. You couldn't search my account. You couldn't find any of my videos. There would get no view. It was terrible. I had like 30-something thousand followers at the time. It wasn't like nobody followed me. It was pretty wild. But anyways, let's go ahead and read this bill. That's my take on it, is essentially if they're concerned about it, somebody else doing it to us, it's because they already know and are doing it 10 times worse than what they're doing it. China's doing it to us for, right? Anyways, a bill that could lead to the popular video sharing app TikTok being unavailable in the United States is quickly gaining traction in the House as lawmakers voice their concerns about the potential for the platform to surveil and manipulate Americans. Could you imagine a government surveilling and manipulating American citizens with social media platforms? No way. Say it ain't so. We better get that TikTok out of here, because there's no way our American social media platforms do that to us. It's only those Chinese communists over there that surveil and manipulate Americans with social media. The measure gained support of House Speaker Mike Johnson and could soon come up for a full vote in the House. The bill advanced out of committee Thursday in unanimous bipartisan vote, 50-0. Wow. Find another bill that's passed like that in a while. The White House has provided technical support in the drafting of the bill. The White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, said that TikTok legislation still needs some work to get to a place where the President Joe Biden will endorse it. Yeah, because if you go read that bill right now, it's probably like, yeah, we'll ban TikTok and we'll also allow another 3 million immigrants to come into our country and also vote. The bill takes a two-pronged approach. First, it would require ByteDance, which is based in Beijing, to divest TikTok and other applications it controls within 180 days of enactment of the bill, or those applications would be prohibited in the United States. Second, it creates a narrow process to let the executive branch prohibit access to an app owned by a foreign adversary if it possesses a threat to national security. It's an important bipartisan measure to take on China, our largest geopolitical foe, which is actively undermining our economy and security. I think we're actively undermining our economy and our security just as much as China is. Critics also claim the app could be used to spread misinformation beneficial to Beijing. Former President Donald Trump attempted to ban TikTok through executive order, but the courts blocked the action after TikTok sued, arguing that actions would violate free speech and due process rights. So interesting that all these things that Donald Trump tried to do 4 years ago, Biden's trying to do now. Build a wall. Don't do that. Well, now Biden's saying that we should build a wall. Ban TikTok. No, don't do that. Oh, well, now Biden's trying to ban TikTok. It's like everything that Trump foresaw and tried to attempt to do that was like defaced and demeaned by the Democrats is now being enacted as if it was their own idea. Just like how in the State of the Union address, Joe Biden was sitting there acting like he wanted immigrants to not jump over our border, like basically saying we're going to protect our border. Like, oh, really? Because you were the very person that allowed this to happen over the last 2 years. And now that we're coming up on an election and we have essentially the same amount of illegal immigrants that have entered our country as the total population of 33 states. That's how many immigrants that we have in our country today. They total up to the same amount of population that we have had over our borders in the last, since Joe Biden started in office, 33 states worth of populations of individuals that are now in our country, undocumented, illegal aliens. Critics also claim that the app could be used to spread misinformation beneficial to Beijing. TikTok raised similar concerns about the legislation gaining momentum in the House. This bill is an outright ban of TikTok, no matter how much the authors try to disguise it. This legislation will trample the First Amendment rights of 170 million Americans and deprive 5 million small businesses of a platform that they rely on to grow and create jobs, the company said. Yeah, I really don't think that TikTok cares about the First Amendment, to be fair. The bill's author, Republican Mike Gallagher, the Republican chairman for the Special House Committee, focused on China, rejected TikTok's assertion of a ban. Rather, he said it's an effort to force a change in TikTok's ownership. He also took issue with TikTok urging some users to call their representatives and urge them to vote no on the bill. I did see that there was a big, there was like a notification on TikTok that's having all of the users of TikTok send or call their representatives. It says the notification urged TikTok users to speak up now before your government strips 170 million Americans of their constitutional right to free expression. The notification also warned that the ban of TikTok would damage millions of businesses and destroy the lives of countless creators across the country. Today, it's about our bill, and it's not intimidating members considering that bill. But tomorrow, it could be misinformation or lies about an election, about a war, about any number of things, Gallagher said. This is why we can't take a chance of having a dominant news platform in America controlled or owned by a company that is behold of the Chinese Communist Party and our foremost adversary. Now, I don't disagree there. I just don't think that's the sentiment of this. I just think that if you were concerned about that, you just, honestly, get rid of all social media platforms. Our world would be much better. And this is an avid user of social media. That's how I've grown my podcast. That's how you know about me, likely. Get rid of it. It'd be better for my children. It'd be better for your children. It'd be better for your grandchildren. It'd be better for our country. Get rid of all social media. It's a fucking cancer on our population, on our society as a whole. It's terrible for children. It's terrible for adults. It makes people lazy. It sucks up all of your time, and it hijacks your dopamine system so that you feel the need to, like, I'm just as guilty of it. Like, I try to be better about it, but just like everybody else, I'm just as guilty about it. And sometimes I sit there and I go on TikTok, I go on Instagram now, and it's like just maybe the way that I consume my feed and for this podcast and stuff, but it's just political bullshit. I don't know what's more fake, American politics or pro wrestling. Like it's so irritating. Even a lot of the influencers, a lot of the top people in the Republican influencer space and the Democratic influencer space, they're all full of shit. They're all being pushed to say certain things about certain topics, and they're all being paid to do so. They're all terrible at marketing with their shitty t-shirt companies. They're all just repost bullshit videos that are regurgitated from other accounts without any value or narration on them. It's just trash. Like trash. That's all social media is. And so, yeah, sure, ban TikTok, but ban Instagram and Meta and X. Ban them all. Get rid of them. We don't need them. Let's use a fucking phone to call somebody instead. Like, let's go back, right? Like, you want to talk about, conservatism. That's get rid of those. Get off my lawn. Anyways, as I get older, I just have come to accept the fact that I'm an angry old man, and that's okay. I think that's probably the right way to be in today's society, anyways. All right. Not sure what's going on there. Okay, cool. So let's move into the Ryan Garcia situation. So Ryan Garcia, professional boxer, has come out on a X tirade, calling out celebrities, dropping names like Oprah Winfrey, saying that he was tied down in a forest by men in black robes and forced to watch some horrific acts conducted on children. And I'm sorry, like, trigger warning, whatever you want to say. There's some terrible stuff here, guys. I'm sorry. It's not like, if you want to skip ahead 15 minutes, but it's pretty serious stuff. So Ryan Garcia, pro boxer, very, very active, has a fight April 20th. Now, some people are saying that he's doing this to promote his fight. I don't think so. If you hear this guy's voice and you know what he's going through right now, I don't think that he's faking this for fight promotion. I also just don't think he's that smart. He's had 240 pro boxing matches, so he probably has a lot of brain damage too. Now, I don't think that demeans or diminishes anything that he's saying, because everything he's saying we already know to be true. We know that all of the celebrities and politicians and most powerful people in the world meet in Bohemian Grove, or at least they did, until it was infiltrated, and now everybody knows where it's at and how to get there. But at least they did, right? I think, who was it? It wasn't Kennedy. Was it Truman? I think it was Truman said that it was the most faggoty place on earth. That is a direct quote from a former president, that Bohemian Grove is the most faggoty place on earth. Excuse my 2010 language there. Apparently we're not allowed to say that anymore. But the president said it, so, blame him, not me. Anyways, and so if you don't know about Bohemian Grove, it's a whole rabbit hole, and I'm sure I've done a whole episode on it at least once, or had some deep dives into it. Essentially, all these politicians and all these most powerful people in the world, very well known, been infiltrated. We know this happens. They all go there. They dress up in robes. They gather around this owl statue, this like 30-foot tall owl statue. Might be exaggerated, but it's probably pretty close to that. Huge owl statue. And then they light on fire while they're in a circle in their robes with masks on this effigy that is supposed to be a sacrifice to the owl god, or Malak, right? The Baphomet, the evil entities of the world. They're doing a satanic ritual out in the woods. Very well known, well documented. Go Google it. Alex Jones at one point infiltrated it with a video camera and found them doing this effigy, found it happening live. So you can go do that research. It's there. It's a real thing. Okay. So he talks about it and says that he was brought there, taken by men in black robes. And I'll let him tell you some of it here. All right, here you go.
I don't give a fuck anymore.
Hold on 1 second here, guys.
Where?
All right, here we go.
Hey, bro. All right, talk to us.
Bro, I don't give a fuck, bro. They help.
Okay, and so this was after an initial release of this. So I'll start from the beginning before I play this video for you. It needs a little bit of context. Ryan Garcia said that his phone was taken from him, that he was forced, his money was taken from him, all this stuff. He posted a video. Like there was a video saying it's kind of a weird situation. It was like, we got him, we slit his throat, something like that on Ryan Garcia's Twitter. Like they took over his Twitter. They said he still has his Instagram. We slit his throat, 666, Satan, the devil, whatever. It was like this super weird random tweet that went out. Okay, that happened. Like 12 hours later, after some people thought he was dead, Ryan Garcia posts a video. And in this video, he looks completely disheveled. He looks like traumatized. And he basically says, I'm okay, guys. I can't really talk about what's going on, but I'm okay. Just wanted to let you know I'm not dead. Okay. Then he starts to release information about Bohemian Grove and what these people did. Andrew Tate then goes on and says, let's do a live. I'll let you share your story. They jump on a live, and here you go.
Me down and they made me watch little kids get raped. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Where?
Bro, they fucking took me to the fucking woods, bro, and they fucking tied. I'm not fucking joking, bro. I have fucking proof, bro. I don't give a fuck. Bro, I fucking will show you every fucking video you could ever fucking believe. Bohemian Grove is real. They fucking tied me down and they made me fucking watch, dog. I absolutely don't give a fuck anymore. Yes, I fucking lost it. They're raping little kids.
He doesn't want to take us all, so let's go. Come on, Ryan. He doesn't want to take us. Come on.
Fuck this guy. Bro, fuck this dude, dude.
Who?
Bro,
You do know the.
you know the higher elites, bro. You already know who they are, bro.
No, you know what?
You know the path
Andrew,
you're going down is dangerous, my friend. That's
I
what
don't
I'm
give
worried
a
about.
fuck. I don't give a fuck. They can't touch me. I'm a god.
Well, that's the first point of contention because I care about you a lot, and I can assure you from my own personal experience that they can touch you, which is the
Bro,
worst part
no,
about
they
it.
can't, bro. All right, so come touch me, you fucking bitch.
You have
I
proof
don't
of these
give.
things. You have proof of this on your phone?
Yes, of course I do. The fuck you talking about? Of course. If Alex could get a fucking video from the Bohemian Grove, of course I could.
Well, I have to be careful what I say because I'm in the middle of a judicial process right now.
You want me to get you out of it? I can help
Well,
you.
bro, my door gets kicked in if I say what I'm thinking.
Okay, well, I can help you get out of it if you want. I know people.
Well, tell everyone at home then. Start from the beginning. When did this happen? Where did this happen? What exactly did you see?
And you have
Why
to
have you tweeted
appreciate
the things you've tweeted? Let
Andrew
people at home
Tate
understand you a little bit.
Because
organizing
I don't give a
this
fuck,
obvious
bro. They raped me, right? I was 2 years old. They
tirade.
raped me. I
Well,
have proof
okay.
of that too.
Let's go back when I was.
Why have you tweeted?
So you have to honestly appreciate Andrew Tate. Like, you know, everybody shits on Andrew Tate. I've shit on Andrew Tate, rightfully in some situations, but you have to appreciate the way he's organizing Ryan's thoughts, right? He's obviously much more articulate, much better at having a conversation than the emotionally heightened state, at least that Ryan's in right now. So again, you have to appreciate about how he's going about this, even saying that, you know, be careful the path that you're going down, my friend. This is a dangerous one and they can touch you. You're not untouchable. You're not a god. They can get to you. And that's the scary part, he says. So here we go.
Tweeted the things you've tweeted. Let people at home understand you a little
Because
bit more.
I don't give a fuck, bro. They raped me, right? I was 2 years old. They raped me. I have proof of that too. That's where it all started, bro.
Jeez.
Okay?
You do know there's going to be certain people who believe, and I'm Ryan, you know, I like you.
Of
We've been
course.
speaking for years. You know, there's going to
Yes.
be people who believe you're just saying this because you've, I don't know, had a mental breakdown or taken drugs and you're
Of
repeating
course,
some
of
of the
course.
things you've said on the internet. And
Guess
so they're
what?
going to not believe you unless you come
Give
at
me
it
the
very
drug test then,
coherently.
Andrew. Andrew, I'll go to fucking Romania and take a drug test in front of your face.
Bro, you don't want to come here. You don't need Romanian jail. It's bad for your fight camp. But I'm just asking, like, you're gonna have to tell a far more coherent story from start to finish for people to truly understand that what you're saying happened is what you saw,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is not some sort of episode or anything else. This is my advice to you as a brother. I'm trying to make it, if you want people to believe you, you're going to have to come along and explain from the absolute beginning exactly
Mm-hmm.
how it happened, who was involved, how you got there, what car you were in, where you were standing, everything.
Of course they're gonna want that, and I have all the information possible.
Okay, so when you're releasing it, how you releasing it, or are you keeping it for yourself? Because it
Mm-hmm.
looks like you don't want to keep it for yourself.
I don't. At the right time, I'm gonna release all of it. But at the right time, I'm gonna do it. They're already calling me to tell me to stop. I don't give a fuck, dude. I've already had a meeting with them. I'm gonna let
Hmm.
you sit with that, Andrew.
With who?
All right, bro. Well, I want you to know that either way, I'm praying for you, and I hope that
Thank you, bro.
no, and I
I
mean
don't
that
give a
absolutely.
fuck, bro. Alex Jones has been saying the same shit, and they try to can't. The only reason they can't stop me because they listen to the devil. I listen to God. God gave me authority. It's over for everybody, bro.
Now, again, to Andrew Tate's point, and you probably won't hear me say that very often, he does seem to be in some type of mental breakdown. But obviously, you know, just by the way he's speaking, he's very emotionally heightened. His voice is shaky. But wouldn't you be? Like, if you were sitting in front of, when this was going on, there's 26,000 people hearing you talk about being raped as a child. Like, wouldn't you feel that way? Wouldn't you be heightened emotionally? Wouldn't you have a mental breakdown if that happened? Like, and again, nothing he's saying is crazy. We already know that these things were happening. We already know Epstein was real. We already know Bohemian Grove is a super creepy, weird place where they have satanic rituals. And to Andrew Tate's point, though, like, are you just puppeting? Are you just parroting the situations that you hear online? Are you just parroting the information that you have heard for other people talk about and just like stringing these together? But why would you do that? Why what would be the purpose of that? That's not going to help him. You know, it's really not good PR for his fight that he says that. And honestly, no man's going to come out and say, I got raped. Like, there's very little of the, you know, Me Too situation happening in men in highly visible spaces. And we'll find that out more with what we see with P. Diddy. And the Lil Rod situation coming up is like, this guy was tormented for years by this man, lived with him and didn't speak up because that's like not generally what men do in this situation. It's just not. Especially people who are very in the public eye. It's embarrassing, I'm sure, and something that you have to contend with in a different way, especially when you're highly visible like these people are. So again, you would have a mental breakdown. You would be heightened emotionally. You would stutter over your words and be, you know, use a bunch of swear words when you're talking, and like, you would do those things regardless. So I don't think that detracts from his opinion. And I don't, you know, this guy's also had a bunch of fights. So I don't think he's like the most articulate person in the world. I'm sure he has some serious head trauma, but I don't think that means that he's not telling the truth. And so as we go further into this, let's go ahead and read some of the tweets that came from him. Now, there was a whole 25-minute live that he did that I listened into. You can go to his Twitter right now and listen in. He did a full live video. You know, maybe I'll play a few minutes of that for you guys here. But the most recent conversation he had is this one, which says that I'm not talking about anything else other than fighting. He's in a fight camp right now. He has a fight in 6 weeks or so. So let me start you from the timeline beginning. Here is the video that I was talking about, if it's still up, of him essentially saying, I'm okay, I'm alive, they took my phone. Okay, here's where it starts.
Hey guys, it's me, Ryan. I'm coming on here to explain what's going on. I'm not in possession of my phone. I can't get access to my Instagram. My cards are locked. And I'm just being real, I'm being real taken advantage. And I personally wanted just to send out a video to the people that love me and my fans and family that's concerned that I'm okay. I'm not dead. I believe in Jesus. All those are lies. And, they try to put me in jail. They're blocking my cards. I can't access my money. Nobody's hitting me back. I don't know what's going on, but just know I'm okay. Look.
And so from that video, what maybe you can try to pull out of it is it sounds like he had a situation where he was being targeted by some organization or some group of people that are obviously somewhat powerful. If they can get into all of his accounts, if they can freeze all of his bank accounts, if they can get into all of his social media accounts, if they can cut off his communication with everybody at one time, it's obviously a pretty powerful entity, right? It's not just some random guy next door. And you see the look on his face. He looks, like I said, disheveled. He looks concerned. He looks like meek almost, which is not generally the case for a guy with 250 pro boxing fights. Like you just hear it in the sound of his voice. He sounds a little scared, which rightfully, if somebody goes onto your account, says they slit your throat, freezes your bank accounts, all of that stuff at one time. So, and this is where it all started. This is where it all got triggered to begin. And it sounds like from there, he's just like, all right, let's do it then. And he's going to just say everything that happened that he's been holding back in fear of these organizations that are potentially going after him. And that's speculation, but that's what it seems like to me. It seems to be some, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to kind of take that out of the context of what's happening. Now, he posted a bunch of other things that all got deleted. Now, I don't know if he deleted them. He says that they got deleted off of X, but I do have those tweets, and I'll read them to you. It says, if they post my phone, I will post on someone else's. It's in plain sight. I'm trying to screen record the rules of devil worshiping, and they are deleting it. Can someone DM me their account info so I can tweet they are going to attempt to stop me? I'm going to set up a live drug test to prove that I'm not tripping. I feel like crying because I'm giving everyone info they already know, but they refuse to believe. Do you want proof now? I'll get it ASAP. He said, if they take my phone, I will post on someone else's. More you ask or what's up? It said 3 Disney workers, school athletic. He posted screenshots. 3 Disney workers, school athletic director among 219 arrested in Florida human trafficking sting. Wow. And that was posted from 2023 September, so just a few months ago. He said, please help, send prayers. I'm calling all prayer warriors. You think you'd be quiet if the killed kids and showed you and did it over and over. I'm done. I have lost it, and so have you. My pain is unbearable. I can't describe. I will be killed soon. Hurry, find. You think you be quiet if they killed kids and showed you and did it over and over and over. I'm done. I have lost it, and so have you. My pain is unbearable. Wow. So, pretty dark stuff there. But then he went on to say that they auction off kids. That's one of the next tweets. He goes on to show that a video from a Bohemian Grove situation. He starts saying that I didn't kill myself. I love God and my kids. I love Jesus. I'm healthy and I have no medical issues for the record. I'm with my wife, Drea. All the other stuff is cap. For you who are not Gen Z, like me, cap means a lie. You're welcome. Let's see what this is. It says I'm changing. Let's see. He brought up the Vatican as well as Oprah Winfrey. He said, how many more kids will y'all allow this to happen to? And then he posted some posts from the Catholic Church abusing children. He said, why do you think that in all scary movies, they are always use a priest from Catholic churches? Because they are molesters and they allow you to disrespect God. He So wait, I'm the bad guy for calling out an institution that has an unbearable or unbelievable amount of rape and molestation, and I'm the bad guy. I'm the crazy one. So everyone's getting real quiet now. Interesting. He also said something along the lines of, and I say along the lines of, but I'm just reading it verbatim. They actually have the files on Jesus, the Ark of the Covenant, the giants, the clones, the aliens, files on everything. They are the ones that let me in. Now, again, sounds pretty crazy in the way that he's going on this like tirade, back to back to back to back to back tweets. I have my beliefs on almost every one of the things that he said there, which are definitely reasonable. Clones, check, we know that. Ark of the Covenant, super weird and interesting situation there. The giants, we talked about the Nephilim. Alien files, we know that to be true. But when you put it in this unarticulate way where it just sounds like you're ranting like crazy, it does sound crazy, because when you put it all together, it is crazy. But it is crazy when you put it all together, but bitch, we live in a crazy world. All of these things have a potential of being true. But he's just not very good at discussing it, at least in a way that's believable, right? So he keeps going on, talks about Gaza, all of this and that. So after a little bit, he does have a live that he's like, all right, come on here, ask me anything. I'll play a little bit, just a couple minutes of that for you guys, and just kind of go move around on the video. So
I'm letting anybody ask any question for the time being till whenever we get off. How do we start this?
No, I'm sorry, bro.
Here,
Here, don't do this.
Wait. People are coming in. Hello, guys. I don't know how to run a space. I don't even know how to do this. How do you do this? How do I let people speak? They said they request. How do you let them speak? Oh,
all right, so we'll skip this part.
I'm going in on everybody.
Where Brian, so to all the people that are asking why you don't show the clips, can you answer?
Now, there's, just so you know, there's 674,000 listens to this audio. So it's not like this is some random weirdo, right? This guy's very, very well-known celebrity athlete.
That question for them.
I can't show the clips. They're already out there. I mean, there's so many clips, it's unbelievable. I know everybody wants me to put out my evidence, but I can't put out my evidence or else they're going to come after my family. So I choose not to. Or you can speak, Gummy. Gummy. Whatever your name, Gumi. All right, Gummy don't want to speak.
Bro,
Oh, there you go.
can you hear me?
Yes. Hello? Everybody's like, yo, put the drink down. Okay, fine. I won't fucking drink. But I'm still going to tell the truth. Sober or not, I have more balls than you. I put my ball sack on everybody.
Okay.
They told me they're gonna make an example on me, that because I say Jesus so much, they're gonna put me on a cross and they're gonna crucify me in the whole world and say, yep, this is what we do. This is what we do. So please help me out. If that's what's supposed to happen, let God's will be done, not mine. I'm okay with that. And this is the truth. Have I lied about anything else? Nothing. So why would I lie about that?
Ryan, I'm a father of 2 kids.
Yes.
I'm saying this because I'm worried about my children, okay?
Okay.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep clear. Ryan, listen to me.
Why do you think?
You know me. I've talked to you about mental health.
Don't worry, brother. Nothing's gonna happen to me. Here, Patriot Speaker. Yes. I'm gonna just
All
add.
right. It's
And they were
25
like,
minutes.
"Are
You
you
can go listen
serious?"
to the
Like,
full thing.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm serious. Watch, I'm gonna commit and I'm gonna do it." And I just did it. God gave me the authority and the power to do it, and I seized it through amongst all the lots and all the people trying to confuse me, throw me off, say what you're doing is a little this and that. I'm like, who cares? Watch what happens. And look, everything's
And
working.
Ryan, if they think you lying, bro, I just want to drop this on people real quick because they don't. I want to put this out there real quick because I talk about this shit a lot. You got an executive order right now, 13818. I'll say it again, 13818, that addresses human rights abuse. and
Okay.
human trafficking that was done in 2017. And that's why all these motherfucking people coming out the woodworks and shit, and a lot of CEOs and shit stepping
Look at
down and all
I
this
got
shit.
the Epstein. I got the Epstein names. If you want me to start
Exactly.
dropping them, Oprah. What? Who cares? I do. What do you mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And this is this
Tom
is all.
Hanks.
All right, so I'll leave that to you. You can listen through that yourself. I don't want to bore you with a 25-minute Twitter space with some, like I said, less than articulate people discussing these things. But I do think that it's worth a listen. There's some value in what he's saying. Again, the delivery is not very well done, and I think that's what Andrew Tate did a good job trying to hone him in a little bit and go, tell us your evidence. Tell us why we should believe you. And here's the thing too. Let's say Ryan Garcia is lying. How many celebrities with millions of followers are going out there and even driving awareness to this? So like, let's say he wasn't tied down in a forest in Bohemian Grove, and maybe he has some mental health issues. And maybe those mental health issues are exacerbated by getting into these rabbit holes that are very, very real, of very real things happening right now around the world that we know about, right? We find out more about it with P. Diddy, right? But maybe let's just say he's lying. Even if he's lying, even if he's having a mental breakdown, even if he's gone way too far down the rabbit hole and he can't handle the truth of the reality of what these people do to children, which is a horrific thing. And it's put me into terrible, like a depressive state, having to do all this research on these things and having to deal with the reality that these things are real and there's very, horrific things happening right now around the world. I remember when I found out about Operation Underground Railroad, and which is the movie is written about. And this was before the movie came out. There was a documentary about Operation Underground Railroad and the things that they were doing. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole thing about the situation with the owner and the guy who's depicted in the movie and all of that stuff, because there's a whole can of worms to open up there too. But I watched the documentary before I heard about it from anybody. I knew some people that were involved in these types of task force, and had tremendous respect for them and wanted to learn more about it. And as soon as I got done watching that, I was so deep in the hole that I would have quit everything just to go save and rescue children, that I would have joined a task force. I actually put in an application with them to be a part of their team that goes and does that. It's probably still sitting there somewhere right now, and they never got back to me, which is okay, I guess. But I was ready to drop everything, and I was ready to do something about it. What is a more noble task than to save these children going through these things? There is very real situations. There's warehouses around the world that have children without social security numbers that are being literally bred for this type of situation. And it's horrible, and I'm not going to take you there right now. But I will say that it can take you down a very dark path, and you have to be emotionally and mentally stable and capable of handling the knowledge, because once you learn that, it's very difficult to navigate the everyday world knowing that this is happening underneath the surface. And so again, even if he's lying, even if this didn't happen to him, even if, let's say he's a celebrity with a lot of head trauma who's going into a mental breakdown, I'm still glad that he's raising awareness, because everything that he's talking about is very real, even if it didn't happen to him. I don't give a fuck whether it happened to Ryan Garcia, but I do know that it's happening to someone's child right now in this world at this very moment. Who cares if Ryan Garcia is telling the truth? What I care about is that there's being awareness given to the situation, and maybe he is telling the truth. But regardless of whether he is or he isn't, I'm glad that he's bringing awareness to this, because this is a topic that should be discussed by every celebrity with every connection everywhere across the country, across the globe, at all times, until it's rectified and the light has been shined on the darkness enough to where it escapes into a deep dark hole and never presents itself again. That is what I would want. And I'm happy that he is causing this potential for this to occur, because there's very, very few celebrities, but we're actually seeing a lot more, which is becoming a theme in this situation. There was more recently a video that came out talking about how Matt Rife and another comedian were being forced to enter being forced by two executives, saying that they'll make them famous, and all they have to do is perform a sex act on them. That's a wild claim too, but we know Harvey Weinstein existed. We know that there's these gatekeepers in Hollywood in the music industry, P. Diddy being one of them, as we will see a little bit later, this is a very real thing. Even if for adults, even if for people who want to be famous, they have to have blackmail on you. You have to become a part of their little scheme. You have to have, you know, some questionable sexuality. And that's just the reality of the Hollywood and the music executives and the world that we live in, high level politics. Like even Madison Cawthorn talks about the orgies that were happening in Washington, D.C., right? We know these honeypot schemes are happening all around the world. We know that, right? This is all true shit, guys. Like this is, yeah, again, maybe not maybe not the most articulate way of putting it, but everything he's saying is true, whether it happened to him or not. And so hundreds of thousands of people watch this one video. 700,000 people now have more awareness about what's going on in the world. And again, some of those people might not be able to handle that truth. But as long as it's being talked about and discussed, they have to hide it. They have to go into some far corner of the reality that we live in to do these things. They have to get out of the public light. The Epsteins will no longer be able to navigate the social circles that he did. Geez, can't talk. Because it's so in the public's eye, right? Everybody knows that about Hollywood. Everybody knows that about the music industry now. Everybody knows that about high-level politics and the elites and the Virgin Islands, like the Russell or the Bransons and the Epsteins. Like everybody knows those things now. And good, keep talking about it until something's done and they go away, or they're all killed off, or they're all in jail. That's all I want, right? And so, good. If you do that to children, you should have the worst things happen to you, right? If you're a part of that world, okay? So that's the situation with Ryan Garcia. There's more to come. He says he's not talking about it. I'll give you one segue out of this, which is the fact that, well, let's go ahead and let's listen to this clip first. Then I'll segue between Ryan Garcia and P. Diddy. Because P. Diddy is really the deep dive for today, and I'm not sure how long we'll be able to discuss that. But I do have a full 30 or 73 page legal documents highlighted, outlined for us to discuss today about these very things. Okay. But first, let me tell you why I started Ronin. So after learning about EMF radiation, doing the deep dive into 5G, right? Here's my quick little pitch for you. The reason I started Ronin is because I looked for these Faraday products myself. Okay, I went online. I found there's 3 or 4 of them that are out there, and one of them has decent design, but they're so expensive. A backpack is $850, literally. Okay, the other ones, when it comes to the apparel, hats, that type of thing, their design work sucks. It was never anything I would want to wear. And also very expensive. It was $90 for a hat, which is like, I'm not fucking spending $90 on a hat, especially if it looks like shit. and so, having the background that I did, and I do, I decided to, I have a pretty heavy marketing background. And so I sourced the supplies and found a way that we can create these products and create them in a way that they're going to be affordable, in a way that they're going to be a design that I would actually be confident and comfortable wearing. And once I have these products shipped, you will not see me on this video without a Ronin hat on my head, and you will love them too, I promise. So I made affordable and actually desirable designs with these Faraday products that I've worked alongside this manufacturer for months and months to build. And so, again, I ask you, there is only a few more spots left on the initial order, and I'm doing it at a steeply discounted rate. The hats, I believe, are about $40 to $45. Normally, they're going to be a little bit more expensive than that, but nowhere near $90. So less than half of the cost. And the material, to be fair, the material that's lined in these is somewhat expensive, and that's really where some of the cost comes from. But I do think that some of the other organizations are just taking advantage of the fact that you don't know any better. So if you get it right now, it's half the cost of anywhere else. Both the backpacks is a fifth, a sixth of the cost. It's $180 for the backpack, and it's $45 for the baseball hat. $40 for the beanie. Okay. Only right now though, because the prices are going to go up. It's not going to go up like 100% and up to their prices, I promise. But I do have to make some margin on this. What I'm really trying to do, guys, is just be able to get that first bulk order, so I don't have to spend thousands of dollars out of my pocket to get the bulk order to start doing the campaigns for you guys to get you to get on this train. Because I truly believe that the effect that we can have in the country, if we get everybody with a Faraday bag and everybody with an EMF blocking hat, one of the tinfoil hats, I believe that there will be a massive disruption in the way that we interact with technology, and our health and everything will be much, much better as a result. So I'm super excited about this. The website is being launched as we speak. Don't purchase from the website because the prices are higher than what you'll get it for at the pre-sale launch. But if you do want to go check out the website and the work that I'm doing there, that's going to be launched very, very soon. It's roninbasics.com. RONINBASICS. roninbasics.com. And you can check it all out there. All right. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. Go to the show notes here right under where you're listening to the podcast, and you'll see that it'll be the very, very first link will be the pre-launch sale of Ronin. And I'll be tracking, seeing how well you guys respond to this, because again, I know my podcast listeners, I know you guys, I love you guys. I've been talking to you and for, you know, over hundreds of hours now. So I know you guys will love this too. And I know you'll support me. So thank you so much in advance. All right. Segue back to creepy Hollywood and music executives. Here's the video about Matt Rife. Here we go.
Comedy, Cat Williams. The dark side of Hollywood is finally being exposed, thanks to one of the true kings of comedy, Cat Williams. You know, before I became wealthy in business, I actually had a somewhat successful career in stand-up comedy. I was on the way up. I was invited to a meeting with some Hollywood executives, along with some now famous comedian, and we were offered the chance for a deal at Online Stardom. But the only way to receive the contract was by sucking both of the execs off. I immediately got up and walked to the door. But before I could even exit, the other comedian was sucking both of their simultaneously. That guy's name was Matt Rife. And that's Alpha King rule number 799. Just because someone is more famous than you, it doesn't mean they're better. They might just be gayer.
Doesn't mean they're better. They just might be gayer. No, I don't think I believe this guy. But if this is marketing, this is great marketing, because I've never seen this guy's face before. But his delivery is honestly too good. It's too practiced. There's very little emotion in it. It seems to me like this guy's full of shit. But a pretty good comedy bit if he is, nonetheless. But I didn't hear that whole video all the way through, so that's pretty funny. Tom Segura and I think Duncan Trussell did a video making fun of this. Like, I thought everybody knew you had to suck a dick to get into comedy. Like, that's just the rule. And I think Matt Rife went and like blocked the guy who posted this, Dom Lucre, and all of this stuff and drama. I like Matt Rife. I think he's pretty damn funny. His crowd work's amazing. I have nothing against the guy. I think this is pretty funny. And hey, if you had to suck a dick for hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever that dude's making, and you're happy to do it, I got nothing against you, man. do you, my friend? You might not be better at comedy. You just might be gayer. Oh, that's so funny. But if you don't know who Matt Rife is, he's a comedian. Again, younger guy, probably in his early 20s, mid 20s at this point, sweeping the world on TikTok and all this stuff, and got promoted a ton, like went into stardom. Like, there's only a couple people who have really gotten super famous out of nowhere in the last couple of years. It's like that, what's her name? The podcaster, shit, why am I blanking on her name right now? The really good podcast, whatever her name is, you know who she is on Instagram. She just basically interviewed every largest celebrity ever, Mark Cuban, Drake. God, why can't I think of her name right now? Anyways, Bobby, that's what it is. Bobby Althoff. And then Matt Rife. Like, those two people got famous like overnight. Seemingly no reason. Matt Rife's talented. Bobby is somewhat funny, but not really enough to become that famous. So definitely some questions to be had there. But he did mention another thing, which is that there's a bunch of high-level celebrities, like very, very well-known people, starting to have these conversations now. Ryan Garcia, Cat Williams, you know, the P. Diddy situation's coming up. Ice Cube was just talking about it. Like, all of these people are starting to have these conversations about the underworld that is Hollywood and fame. Now, again, I don't think I believe this guy. This guy seems to be, before I was a super wealthy business executive, I tried my hand at comedy and just didn't suck enough dicks to be successful. Like, you're probably not that funny, buddy. But it's good marketing nonetheless, if you're into that kind of marketing. Okay. That has 25 million views, by the way. Pretty crazy. All right, so that brings me to the next point, which is that Ryan Garcia posted something about P. Diddy just minutes ago, like literally an hour ago, as I was doing my last second research on all of this. And he posted this. I heard Devil Haney is bringing P. Diddy to training camp to spar. First one to tap out wins. Doghouse rules. Now that starts to gain some context as we start to talk about this. Now Ryan Garcia say he's only going to talk about boxing, but the fact that he's bringing up P. Diddy right now in the midst of this legal lawsuit about sex trafficking and the manipulation of minors and like all the stuff we're about to go into is pretty good on Ryan Garcia's part. He put those two together. Still talking about just boxing, by the way. So an impressive, subtweet there by Ryan Garcia. I'm not sure subtweet's still a thing. I remember it was like in 2011 when I used to actually use Twitter. Speaking of, if you do have a Twitter, you should follow me, the Austin J. Adams. I just got one, like never really used Twitter at all, but I'm using it consistently now. So all my content's there. So the Austin J. Adams on Twitter. Anyways, so there's a picture of P. Diddy. And I'll show you right here briefly. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. And he tweeted out again, I heard Devil Haney is bringing P. Diddy to training camp. Basically saying that, because P. Diddy is gay. He talks about having sex with Meek Mill and Usher allegedly within these court documents, all this stuff. So, yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and segue into the Usher situation. Is kind of Usher's situation too, but P. Diddy's situation. So P. Diddy has a lawsuit against him by Lil Rod. Lil Rod being the producer for P. Diddy during some of his recent work. And so the allegations against him are pretty wild, but this isn't something new. P. Diddy had a lawsuit against him by his former girlfriend, Cassie, for very, very similar things, almost exactly the same things that he's talking about here. And so nothing really new coming out, but it is there is some new information here that's definitely more alarming. And Epstein's name is mentioned like 4 times in P. Diddy's legal documents. So let's start it like this. P. Diddy has a lawsuit against him for being the Epstein of the music industry, essentially setting up and wiring his whole home, his entire house, every single room with cameras so that he could spy on politicians, musicians, celebrities that come to all of his crazy house parties that he would recruit sex workers and underage minors to, drug them, and then have them go do whatever they're going to do in these bedrooms and record it. So he has blackmail on everybody in the industry, all the celebrities, all the politicians, everybody who came through, everybody who he drugged essentially, and then would hire these prostitutes to come into these parties and go off with these celebrities, go off with these politicians into these rooms that were wired with cameras so that he could then have blackmail. And this is corroborated. There's proof of this and evidence of this in the hearing and in the legal documentation that I'm about to show you. And so we can take a look at that and start to walk through it together, because it's unbelievable, some of the stuff that's in here. And we'll start it from the beginning. All right. There's video evidence, there's photos, there's screenshots that show that he used blackmail and video recorded everybody in his house doing these sex acts and would manipulate, and maybe manipulate's not the right word, but would coerce these music artists and celebrities into doing like gay acts for power and like all of this stuff. So let me go ahead and pull it up for you here and we'll look at these documents together. Here we go. Let's see if I can get this into a full view for you. Full screen mode. Maybe not. All read mode. Maybe not. All right. So anyways, let's start at the very beginning of this. The allegations against P. Diddy are wild, but if you know about P. Diddy's history, again, it's not that staggering because it all seems very, very believable because there's some of these things that have been allegations against him before. All right, so starting at the very beginning, this is Sean P. Diddy Combs v. Rodney Jones. Okay, the other people listed, this is case number 24-1457, and I will include these documents in the show notes for you. It's 73 pages long. I'll include my highlights. You can check it all out there. Okay, so here we go. It says trigger warning. Yeah, for sure. There's some pretty crazy stuff in here that will definitely be triggering to some people if you've dealt with things like this before. So you've been warned. All right, so here it is. Rodney Jones versus Sean Combs, otherwise known as P. Diddy. All right, and I'll walk you through all of this with me here on the documentation. If you want this documentation, it's 73-page legal documents that I had to pay to get, but I'll upload my version of it with all of my highlights in the show notes for you so you can go check it out as well. All right, so we'll skip through some of this. This shows the defendant is Justin Dior Combs, is the son of Mr. Combs, and Miss J. Combs was born on December 1993. Okay, anyways. Defendant Sean Combs is a rapper, right? We know that. P. Diddy, Puffy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Diddy, Brother Love. Anyways, we know who we're talking about here. Okay. Now, the other people listed in here is the former CEO of defendant Motown Records, and his name is defendant Ethiopia Habtemariam is the former CEO, and this is talking about Lucien Charles Grange, who is a CEO of defendant of Universal Music Group, is listed in this as helping cover up, aid, and abet the sex trafficking acts. The next person is the Ethiopia Habtemariam, which is the chief of staff who would basically supply him with drugs, all of that stuff. Then his chief of staff, all these people are listed within here, Universal Records, Love Records, so on and so forth, okay? So here's the summary. It says, from September 2022 to November 2023, Mr. Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' Love album. Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months at a time, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residence located in Los Angeles, California, New York, and Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones also spent several weeks on the yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Throughout his time, as we mentioned, those islands, interesting. Throughout his time, Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer of the Love album. The claims raised in this complaint have been corroborated through witness statements, video, audio recordings, and images that Mr. Jones has in his possession. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones's cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activities. Mr. Jones secured irrefutable evidence of the acquisition, use, and distribution of drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the displaying and distribution of unregistered firearms. Mr. Combs provided laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes in California, New York, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Florida. Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Koreman, instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide it to Mr. Combs. Christian Combs, drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Young Miami's cousin or assistant sexually assaulting Mr. Jones. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr., sexually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones, is listed in the P. Diddy case. Rapper Redacted on Mr. Combs' yacht, consorting with underage girls, sex workers, and R&B singer Redacted in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home, consorting with underage girls and sex workers. Chalice Recording Studio shootings. So this talks about a situation essentially where in 2022, P. Diddy was at a writers and producers camp. And it was his son and Justin's friend named G. Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African-American male. In addition, there was other musicians present at the camp. The writer had spoken to several musicians who attended the camp. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away. It says one evening during the camp, Mr. Jones, Jay Combs, his son, and G were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when gunshots rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple gunshots. Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and feared that he would be shot next. Mr. Jones genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Jay Combs exited. G was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his hip and leg area. Everyone stood around looking up at G, or stood around looking upon G. Frustrated by the lack of aid, Mr. Jones dropped everything and began to place pressure on his gunshot wound. As he was applying pressure to his stomach, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from an area near his hip and leg, and he decided to lift him up and place him on the toilet. He also forced Mr. Jones, so it says that Mr. Jones lifted him and brought the ambulance to the front of the studio. At the time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. Now, from this, and they actually post all of the articles, that all of the witnesses who spoke with this writer anonymously due to fear of retaliation from Mr. Combs, they agreed to speak publicly when subpoenaed. Mr. Jones says he has clothing that actually show it. They show the photos of the shooting and where it was taking place, saying that he was not shot outside, that it was not a drive-by, and it was done by P. Diddy, or his son. Then it goes on to talk about how he was sexually harassed and assaulted by P. Diddy. Said that they took place in LA, New York, Florida, and in the Virgin Islands. That he was around him while he was naked, that he would be groped by him in his groin and butt area. He attempted to groom Mr. Jones into engaging in gay sex. That's what it says next. It says throughout the 1990s, he basically said that he looked up to Stevie J, was the guy who is named in the lawsuit, the Mr. Jones. And as a result of finding out, P. Diddy basically said that he went as far as to share a video of Stevie J penetrating a Caucasian male without a condom. This was done to ease Mr. Jones's anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Combs, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it, P. Diddy said to Lil Rod about having gay sex. This is a normal practice in the music industry, he says. Now, this is something we've heard whispers of in a while, right? And even in this situation, there's a listing of names that were redacted, essentially that say that, people are speculating that P. Diddy had sex with Meek Mill and Usher, that he has on camera as well. And then Meek Mill went on this weird tirade on Twitter as well, saying that he, I'm not gay, I love vagina, this whole weird thing. So this is where it starts to get interesting, and so where some of the sex trafficking situations come up, the underage minors, all of that stuff that we talked about. So essentially what would happen is he would recruit this guy to go and have conversations with sex workers and have them, he basically had a sign. So even when he was in the booby trap on the river, wherever the hell that is, he would tell him to go to this strip club and wear his bad boy's baseball hat, and that would be a signal to the prostitutes that he's trying to recruit them essentially to go to his parties. Now, what they would do at these parties is interesting, and that's where the sex trafficking comes into play here. So essentially what they would do is they would go recruit these minors. They would go recruit these prostitutes to come over to his parties, his house parties, and his, what do they call them, freak parties, which was essentially like a big gangbang orgy. And then he would drug the politicians, drug the artists, the musicians, the celebrities that would come over to his house, and he would have cameras wired everywhere. So if we skip ahead a little bit, these pictures are two women that he allegedly was coerced and forced into having sex with. And if you look at these photos, maybe it wasn't as forced as he's saying here. But as we kind of scroll through here, it gets a little bit darker when you find out that he was essentially saying that he promised him ownership of his $20 million property. This is basically if he just went along with being groomed and got, peddled into this world of celebrities and utilized as his own kind of sex slave in this weird scheme. As we find out later, with a name like Cuba Gooding Jr. coming up, as we find out, he almost got trafficked too. But he basically was promised all these amazing things would happen if you just go along with this scheme. Right, go find the prostitutes, go coerce these underage girls to come over and party with us. And then we're going to get all these celebrities to come over, and then we're going to drug the celebrities. They're going to hook up with these prostitutes and these underage minors. They're going to go to the rooms that I have wired with cameras, as we'll find out on page 33 of this. And then we have blackmail on everybody and anybody that we would want. And that gives us power, right? Blackmail is power, right? So it says he promised him ownership of his $20 million property. He promised him access to record label executives. And then he would often switch up his approach. And this is where it gets crazy. He would go from promising him the world to threatening him with physical harm. Mr. Combs threatened to eat his face and said, "I'm willing to kill my own mother. What would stop me from killing you?" Literally says that verbatim in this legal documentation. Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones's face and informed Mr. Jones that he is willing to kill his own mom, Janice Combs, if he must, in order to get what he wants, so he wouldn't think twice to harm Mr. Jones. So let me get this straight. P. Diddy threatened in a legal document, as we see here, listed under oath, P. Diddy threatened to eat this guy's face, literally, and said he would kill his own mom. So what would stop me from killing you? That's a crazy thing to say. Absolutely wild, crazy thing to say. Wild. Now, it goes on to say that in addition to, so I don't even want to glance over that because that's just like the most wild and crazy thing you could ever say to somebody, is that you would eat their face. That's a whole other rabbit hole, but we're not going to go down that one. It says, in addition to sex workers, there was that, so it talks about, this is the next column, which talks about the drugs and illicit acts with minors and sex workers. So it says this was on July 2nd of 2023, so only like 7 months ago. Mr. Combs had a listening party at his home. He said that present at the party was an R&B artist, Jay Combs, sex workers, and underage girls. Mr. Combs requested female sex workers and required Mr. Jones to solicit them. An hour later, several sex workers appeared. In addition to sex workers, there were these 5 women in the crowd that were under the age of 16. And then they have photo evidence of him. After being forced to drink a De Leon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded and recalls passing out and waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning naked with a sex worker sleeping next to him. Screenshots of a video from that night are embedded below, and here are the screenshots. Wild. Okay, now it said Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs was grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became a reality when P. Diddy introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. And there's photos of this in the legal documentation of him grooming and peddling him off to Cuba Gooding Jr. You know, the fucking Nickelodeon star, the one from all the kids' movies, the Iditarod guy. Like, it says, during the introduction, Mr. Combs suggested that Cuba get to know Mr. Jones better. He then left him alone in the makeshift studio on the yacht. And evidenced by the video, of which screenshots are embedded below, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, and small of his back near his buttocks and his shoulders. Mr. Jones was extremely uncomfortable and proceeded to lean away from Cuba Gooding Jr. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. It says that throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was under an implied work for hire agreement. Talks about all of the money he wasn't paid essentially, but there was a portion in there that talks about how this is just what you do in the music industry. Everybody's gay, right? He had sex with Meek Mill and Usher allegedly. Like, everybody does it. It's just what we do, right? It's not gay. It's it's Hollywood, right? Like, I think that's gay. And so it goes on to talk about how Mr. Combs, we talked about eating his face, crazy, but let's keep moving along here. It goes on to say that there was another situation of a shooting that occurred a little bit before this, where when he was dating J-Lo, where J-Lo essentially carried a gun into a club for him, passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with somebody. There was a shooting where P. Diddy was arrested. So was J-Lo after a New York shooting. And this was in, 1999. And then he made it clear that he had immense power in the music industry and with law enforcement. He said Mr. Combs made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, is once you find out about Fahim Muhammad. Fahim Muhammad is his bodyguard. Now, this bodyguard was the one that he said to all of his staff that if you ever get pulled over in LA or Miami, you need to just call my bodyguard, and he's got you. He'll get you off no matter what's going on. This is also the guy that allegedly cleaned up after him after the shootings, after all of his like crazy and wild situations, escapades. And this is where it gets weird. So as you realize that P. Diddy was only 24 when he founded Bad Boy Records, one of the most famous and successful record labels of all time, right? They brought on B.I.G., Notorious B.I.G. and Biggie. They had the big, huge feud with Tupac, and we all know how that ended. And a lot of people think that it might have been P. Diddy that did that, or at least called the shots to have that done. But at 24, you don't know shit about business. How are you going to create the largest record label, especially while you're doing all this shit on the side, partying like crazy? But essentially what it was is that he had a weird relationship with this music executive who essentially groomed him and helped him to create this record label. Now, the guy that groomed him into creating this record label that was fond of P. Diddy at just the age of 24 to help him create one of the world's most successful rap labels ever, also seemed to have some interesting ties to three-letter government agencies. Now that starts to become weird when you find out that all of the rooms were rigged with video cameras and that he was potentially dealing in a honeypot scheme to get blackmail on celebrities, on music artists, right? On politicians that he had over to these house parties that he just so frivolously threw in his face just to try to get him to have sex with him, right? Now, what you find out about Fahim Muhammad is Fahim Muhammad has his own interesting ties to law enforcement and three-letter agencies. Fahim Muhammad has no real background in security, right? There's no reason that he should have this job. But what he does have is an interesting tie to the Wharton School of Business that he spoke at several times. In the Wharton School of Business, much like Yale, has some very serious history as being a recruitment area for the CIA. So when Ghislaine Maxwell's ties with the Mossad, you look at P. Diddy's ties with potentially these high-level record executives and this bodyguard who has ties with the CIA, it all starts to become a little bit clearer as we move from page 27 to page 33. We'll see if there's anything between now and then, but it is most interesting once you start to learn. Oh, and here, right in the P. Diddy paperwork, right in the lawsuit paperwork against P. Diddy, there is a side-by-side comparison photo of P. Diddy and his girlfriend slash, handler, Christina Karam, and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Jeffrey Epstein being, handled by Ghislaine Maxwell, associated with the Mossad, and P. Diddy sitting here in this picture with Christina Karam. Now, Christina was basically responsible for making sure that every one of his employees, from the butlers to the chef, the housekeepers, all walked around with a pouch or a fanny pack filled with drugs: cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana, gummies, Tucci, which is a combination of ecstasy and cocaine. It said that here's the comparison. It says, according to Mr. Jones, during the 13 months he lived and traveled with Mr. Combs, he witnessed Mr. Combs display and distribute guns from his bedroom closet in Miami, Florida, Los Angeles, California. The questionable individuals dressed in all black. That's interesting. And the title of this situation, it says, Defendant Christina Karam is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein, which is a interesting, subtle hint at the association of circumstances, right? The Epstein style situation, the recordings, the blackmail scheme, all of it. Very, very interesting that there's that side-by-side comparison. And there's a point in this that they actually call it out a second time, talking about how it could be even worse than what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, according to these legal documents. It says, while living and traveling with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones discovered that P. Diddy had hidden cameras in every room of his homes. Every room of every home P. Diddy owned was rigged with video cameras. It says that P. Diddy possesses compromising footage of every person that has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. Upon information and belief, due to this treasure trove of evidence that he has in his possession, P. Diddy believes that he is above the law and is untouchable because of the amount of blackmail that this man has. It says that Jose Cruz is his IT director and is the gatekeeper to all of his recordings. It says that he stays out of the camera and from social media and the internet due to all of the incriminating acts he is required to record for P. Diddy. Wow. Now, as we move into the latter of this situation, you can start to put this together a little bit. So P. Diddy would have these huge, massive house parties and freak-off parties where he would invite celebrities, politicians, music artists, all of those people to his home. He would then drug them and bring in prostitutes and underage individuals, minors, to his home to then go off with these celebrities, with these politicians, with these musicians, and then he would have blackmail on all of them. Meanwhile, with his super weird and nefarious associations with individuals who seem to have ties with three-letter agencies. Doesn't seem like he's doing all of this just for his own right. Even if so, you could probably very easily have a trove of blackmail information, which is what literally it says here, and sell it off to the highest bidder when needed, right? Crazy, crazy situation here. It said that let's see, I want to find the situation here where it talks about how it compares it again one more time to Jeffrey Epstein. Because in the legal documentation here, it says that what P. Diddy is doing is even worse than what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And I don't know how that is even potentially possible, but that's what it's saying here. So let's see if I can find that highlighted portion, and then we'll close it out pretty close to there. Let's see. Maybe I can Control F this. Epstein. Let's look for that. Okay, so page 57. Okay, well, guess not. So, but I do know that it's in here somewhere. I'm not going to sift through these 73 pages for you, but I do have it highlighted in this documentation that shows that the legal representation for this man who's suing P. Diddy says that what P. Diddy is doing with underage minors and his sex trafficking is worse than what Jeffrey Epstein is doing. Here's your quick synopsis. P. Diddy was running a sex trafficking honeypot scheme for celebrities, politicians, and music artists. He shot multiple people, one of them in the face in 1999 after being given a gun by J-Lo. Another one recently in 2023, just like 7 months ago in his studio. Got off all times, every single time he got off. Well, why? Why? Well, it seems like he got off because he has blackmail on all of these politicians, on judges, on law enforcement agents, on, all of these individuals, all of these celebrities, all of these politicians. He has blackmail on everybody in LA. He runs LA with all this blackmail. P. Diddy is the Epstein of Hollywood, right? Epstein would do it with scientists and politicians and high-level elites and all of those people with big money, right? He's the big money player. P. Diddy's doing it to all the rappers, all of the musicians, all the artists. He has all these ties with the same people that Justin Bieber was caught up with, and you've seen what Justin Bieber's talked about in the past. Like, all of that. Not only that, but he said he was going to eat this dude's face, and then he tried to traffic him to Cuba Gooding Jr. What the fuck kind of world do we live in? Like, this is the deep, dark shit that we're talking about, and this didn't even get into the serious details of the sex trafficking of minors, right? But this is absolutely a honeypot scheme to create blackmail against famous celebrities, politicians, and music artists in LA, in Miami, and on some weird island in the Virgin Islands. Like Epstein 2.0, only worse, according to the legitimate legal document that states just that. Crazy, crazy situation. And with that, that's all I got. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I will keep you updated on all of these wild situations. Head down to the show notes right now. Click the pre-sale for Ronin. Support me. I appreciate you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Go check it out. Get yours right now. Backpack. If you get all three, there's a 10% lifetime discount code that I'll send to you directly. Okay? So, I appreciate you. I love you. Go ahead. Go there right now. Hit that button right in the show notes and join the pre-sale. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
The Adams Archive.